Okay. All right. Okay, guys, so you have your notes out, am I correct? Awesome. Okay, do you see the part that I have on the board? We're going to start there, okay? So this says, write P if the statement describes a postulate or U if it describes an undefined term. Did we talk about postulates the other day? Yeah, we did. How many do we have? 4. Can you show me where in your you found postulates? Good, at the bottom of the page before. If I'm talking about a postulate, I need that exact word for word. These are the only 4 postulates you know, and if it's a postulate, if it's a P on the other side, it's the exact same wording as what you see right there. So if you see something that looks just like one of the postulates, I need you to use a P, okay? The other option is U, an undefined term. Did I talk about the undefined terms of geometry last class? You guys are my 4th geometry class, so sometimes I like forget. I'm just like, did I say it? I don't know. Did I say that point, line, and plane were the 3 undefined terms of geometry? Okay, perfect. So if it's just talking about a point or just talking about a line or just talking about a plane, that's a U. So I want you either by yourself, with a neighbor, with a small group, turn and talk, decide if those are U's or P's. U's or P's. I'm going to do attendance. You guys decide if those are U's or P's. Morning. Thank you. Do I hear math being talked about? If I don't hear undefined terms of postulate, I shouldn't hear it. U's or P's, that's all I need to be hearing. I know some of you might be done. Just be patient with me for a second. All right, you guys ready to talk about this? Okay, here we go. All right, looking at number 19, what do we think? A point indicates a location and has no size. Here, you. You. I agree, you. Is it one of the postulates, the P postulates that we had up here? No, not exactly, so it doesn't count. What about number 20? Through any 2 points, there's exactly 1 line. P, there we go. That's one that we should know. P postulate. Number 21, a line is represented by a straight path that has no thickness and extends in 2 opposite directions without end. Here, you. You, very good. Now, notice those 2 U's. Those are trying to define words that we describe as undefined, right? If you like these definitions, go ahead and put them on your vocab cards. If you're like, Miss White, those are not helpful to me, ignore them. Keep it moving. I don't mind at all. But if you're like, this helps me understand what a point or a line is, use it. I think most of us know what points and lines are, but that's why they're undefined. It's hard to explain. So I'm never going to ask you those definitions, but if those are helpful for you, let's use them, right? Okay, what about 22? If two distinct planes intersect, then they intersect in exactly one line. P. That's one of our postulates. If two distinct lines intersect, then they intersect in exactly one point. P. And then this one should say non-collinear. Through any three non-collinear points, there's exactly one plane. P. Can you guys remind me what non-collinear mean?
Not the same.
Not on the same line. Very good. Not on the same line. Notice that every single one of these P's is written exactly verbatim right up here. That's why I put those on your vocab, because I want you to know those four statements. Okay? I need you to know those four statements. Another thing, if any of you were getting a little confused, I'm not going to have something directly like this on our upcoming quiz, but if you want something to help you, all of the postulates use two of my undefined words. It has points and it has line. It has planes and it has line. It has lines and it has point. It has points and it has plane. All of the two that were just used, they only had one of my undefined terms. It was talking only about a point. It was talking only about a line. So if that's something that helps you out a little bit, a postulate is how two of my undefined terms relate to each other. Okay? Okay, cool. Let's keep it moving. We aren't necessarily learning any new vocab words, but we're trying to take what we learned last class and putting it all together, okay? So I'm going to do a couple things that I think could be confusing to us. We're going to work them out, and then we're going to get into some extra practice that I think is going to help us for the quiz and help you do it well on your homework, okay? So this next part, it says reasoning, EF and FE form a line. Are they opposite rays? Okay, I'm going to work us through that. Okay, so you can think in your head, do you think they're opposite rays or not? Let's figure it out. First thing it says, draw and label points E and F on that line. So can you go ahead and draw points E and F on that line anywhere that makes you happy? Draw points E and F on that line. Now I'm going to draw ray EF, okay? When I draw ray EF, where am I going to start at? At E, and where am I going to go towards? F, very good. So I'm going to start at E, and I'm going to go towards F. Okay, similar idea. Now let's do FE. Where am I going to start for FE? F, and where am I going to go towards? E, very good. In order to decide if those are opposite rays, I have a couple questions. Number one, do those two rays share an endpoint? What is an endpoint? Do you guys know what an endpoint is? Yeah, Chase? Yeah, it's that point on my ray, right? You can think of that as where the ray ends or where the ray starts. So if the word endpoint is confusing because you're like, it doesn't end, it has an arrow. Good point. Do they start at the same point? Did these two rays start at the exact same point? No, right? The first one started at E and the second one started at F, so they do not share an endpoint. No. Do they form a line? Yeah, they do. Are they opposite rays?
Yeah.
Ooh. Go back to your definition. What do we need for opposite rays?
Same endpoint.
Same endpoint. They do not have the same endpoint, so we're going to say no. And when it says explain your answer, we're going to say no because, and I use B/C to represent because I am too lazy to write it all the way out, because they do not share an endpoint. Chase, were you going to say something?
I'm just
You going to answer the question? Okay, perfect. Should I add anything to that, or do you think we're good? Think it's good? Okay, I think it's good too. I don't think there's really anything we need to add in on that. Okay, so that's opposite rays. So we decided those were not opposite rays, even though they use the same letter. Did I tell you guys the other day, how many points should we have for opposite rays? We should have 3, right? 3 or more. So when we only have 2, there's just no way. There's no way that that's going to work. All right, let's keep it moving. Now it says find the intersection of 2 planes, okay? We have a surface of each box is a plane. And it says, what are the names of the two planes that intersect at B, F? So this is when I like to use my tissue box to represent things. So I've got BF right here, and I want to know what the name of the two planes that touch BF are, okay? And we can use that diagram as well. So I like to show you both the paper diagram and the 3D diagram to see if at least something kind of clicks in our head. First thing it says, circle all the points that are on line BF or in one of the two planes, okay? So here's BF. Oh, that's way too strong of a, there's BF. Is point A either on line BF or on one of the planes that touches BF? Yeah. It's on this plane right here, right? The one to the left of BF. So I see A right there. So A works. A is good. What about B? Is B on either the line or one of the planes that touches the line? Yeah. Yeah. It's on the line. What about C? Is that on there? Yep, it's on the plane now to the right. So now I'm looking at the other plane. We'll make that one yellow. That one works. What about D? No, where is D? It's in the back, right? So D does not work. It's like if I was talking about this line right here, it's my like point back here where my finger is. So if my line is where that Apple Pencil is, D's all the way back here. It's not touching either plane nor the line. What about E? Is he on either the plane or the line? Yeah. What about F? Is it on the plane or the line? Yes. Yep. What about G? Yes. Yeah. What about H? No. Wait a second, but H looks like it's highlighted purple. It's in the back. It's by D, right? So if I said D was up here, then H is right below it, right? I'm trying to trick you there, and I want us to make that mistake now instead of on the quiz. It's hard, again, to show a 3D figure on like a flat piece of paper, but I love that you guys know that H is in the back. Even though it looks like it's highlighted, it's not included, okay? Okay, so now we need to name these planes. It says circle another name for plane BFG. Now tell me, is BFG the plane that I have drawn in purple, or is it the one I have drawn in yellow? BFG is in yellow. Okay, based on that, looking at the yellow plane, can you find one of the options here that is the same plane? Another name for that same plane. Chase, what you got? BCG. Do we all agree that BCG is another name for that? Good. Now, if you don't have colors like I do, you can just circle that one because that's what it tells us. Circle another name for that plane. Then it says underline another name for the plane BFE. And so that must be my purple plane. What's another name for that one? ABF. Good. ABF. Now, I'm going to challenge us. We now have two names for each of those planes. I think there's a bunch more. Can you find another name for each of those planes? So we're going to do the yellow plane first. It could be called BFG. It could be called BCG. I want to think of all kind of the different names we could think of for that yellow plane. Who's got another name for that yellow plane? We would want another name. What'd you say? CGF, that works. CGF, that's also the yellow plane. What's another name for that?
BFC.
BFC? Good. Anyone got another one? One more. There's a bunch more. Give me one more. FCG. Very good. And do you see how we use the same letters as we did before, but we put it in a different order? That's okay. That's still a different name for that. And we could keep going on and on. There's a bunch of different ways that we can name that. What I'm trying to get at for you guys is probably, I think even on homework tomorrow, that we're going to look at, that we're going to go over, I'm going to name a plane some way, and you're going to name it a different way, and we have to decide, are our planes the same plane? And for the first couple times, I'll be like, ask me your plane, I'll tell you if it's the same. But eventually we're going to get to a point that I'm going to have to say like, hey, you should know that that's the same name and that's the same plane, even though they have different names. Okay, so we're going to get better and better at that as we go. Now let's go do the purple plane. Same idea. We already know it can be called BFE. We already know it can be called ABF. What's another way that we can name that plane? Chase, give me one.
AEF.
AEF, very good. It's another way we can name that plane. What? Two more names for that plane. Okay. FEB. 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 I do like to spell words if I can. That's always fun. We got another one for that plane. One more for that purple plane.
BAE.
BAE, very good. Thanks. Plain bag. Again, like I said, it's fun to spell words, especially if you can. I'm like, let's spell a word. So those are 5 different names that we just had for those 2 planes. So lots of different options, okay? I want us to get comfortable. And I know right now it feels a little bit like alphabet soup, and you're just like, all these letters sound the same. We're trying our best so that we know the name of these planes so we can do more with this. All right, let's scroll on. We got 2 more problems that I want to do before we keep practicing. This one, 33, it says, what plane contains the points L, M, and N? Shade the plane. Okay, so we're going to use that big figure right there, and we are going to draw LM, LN, and MN, and then shade that plane. Okay, so go ahead. We're going to connect the dots. LM is already drawn for us, so I'm just going to connect that. The other 2 aren't. But remember, one of our postulates says through any 2 points, you can draw 1 line. So between M and N, I can draw a line. And from N to L, I can draw a line. When I draw and connect all those segments, what shape does that make? Triangle. Very good. Okay. Now, this is where it gets a little bit trippy. When we talked about planes the other day, do they have like stopping points and edges, or do they go on and on forever? They go on and on and on forever. So technically that triangle is going to keep expanding, and planes, we always use rectangles to draw them, right? So this plane, even though it looks like a triangle just when we connected it, planes in general are rectangles. Or they are, I want you to think of them more as a rectangular shape. And while you write that, you may even remind yourself they go on and on forever. So they never end. That being said, there is one more point that should be on this plane. What other point should be on the same plane as L and M and N? I think you know, right here. What other point, if I were to extend that plane, what other point should be part of that plane? Let's go with ones that shouldn't be. Do you think J should be on that plane? No, J for sure looks like it's not, right? What about R? Does R look like it should be part of the plane? For sure not. What's another one that for sure should not be part of the plane? Q? I don't think Q should be part of the plane. So now we're between K and P. Which one do you think is on the plane? Chase? I don't think K is on the plane. I think it's P. Does anyone know why I think P is on the plane? Good. So like we did L and M, so we're going to connect N and P. So it's like we connected like this top segment right here. We also have to connect this bottom segment right here. So we're connecting both of these. It's like if I took, sure, I'm not going to have a good example of this. It's like I took a piece of paper and I'm cutting through this tissue box. Pretend this paper goes all the way through the tissue box. It's going to go from this corner all the way to this corner. It's going to extend through. If I had like a big knife that I could cut this tissue box in half, that's what this plane is representing. It's going all the way through like here. Can you guys kind of visualize that? Okay. So I'm going to include P as part of my plane. So as I shade this in, I'm going to include that P as part of my plane and from L to P and N to P. And now I'm going to shade all of that in. And so on your paper, see if you can kind of shade it in carefully to see if you can think about like that line, that plane going right through that rectangular prism. Now that we've done that, I do want to name this plane like we've been practicing. Can somebody give me a name for that purple plane that I have on the board? How many letters do you need to tell me? 3? Good. Let me find 3 letters on that purple plane. Kate, give me 3. LMN. I like that Kate didn't even use P, and that's totally great. The 3 that we had before, that's enough to name a plane. Perfect. Give me another 3. And MP. Good. One more.
Yellow.
PLM. Sorry. PLM. Like that. Good. Okay. Sometimes it's so many letters, I'm like, what do they even say? So, hope I got it right. Okay. Doing all right with that? Again, we're going to do a little bit more plane practice today. I'm just trying to get as many of these little concepts in. The hardest part right now about this first section is there's not a lot of problems that we're going to be able to repeat. It's all kind of concepts. And do we understand how points and lines and planes kind of all go together? Now, I've got one more question. We're going to do one more ray explanation, and then we're going to do some practice, okay? This last question that we're going to do today, it says, are AB and BA the same ray? So that means it's the same thing. Just how we were going with the same plane, and I gave you a bunch of different names for one plane. My question to you is AB and BA the same exact ray? Now, you may already have a thought in your head. Hold on to that thought, and let's work through it. What's the end point of AB? A, very good. That's where the point is. That's where we start. That's where we end. That's where the point is. What's the end point for BA? B, very good. Now we're going to draw and label AB and then draw those 2 rays, okay? So go ahead and put A and B on your line and then draw line AB and line BA. Okay, I drew AB. You guys have AB like I do? When I draw BA, where do I start and go to? Good. B to A. Are those the same ray? Not at all. What is wrong with them? Why are they not the same ray? They don't share an endpoint. Think of one other problem that makes them not the same ray. Chase.
They go
in opposite directions. If it's the exact same ray, they should start at the same place and they should go to the same place. They do not. They go in opposite directions. Wait a second. Does that make them opposite rays? Does that make them opposite rays? Why are they not opposite rays? They don't share an endpoint. Awesome. Good job, you guys. Good job. Okay, we're not going to do that bottom part. You can cross it off if that makes you happy. Now, before I get you started on homework, I want to do a little bit of practice, okay? So I'm going to give you a piece of paper. And this piece of paper is not going to be due. I don't want this. This is for you to practice, okay? So this piece of paper, there's a typed side. There's like a handwritten side. I want you to start on the typed side. And I want you to work either by yourself, with a neighbor, with a small group, and do as much of this as you can. You're going to have a lot of questions. You're probably going to get some of it wrong, but that's going to let me come check your vocab. Then we're going to go over this as much as I can. And I want to stop with like 10 minutes left of class for you guys to start homework so you can start asking me questions. Does that sound like a good plan? This is going to look somewhat like your homework, so I'm hoping we get some questions out now as opposed to later, okay? You may. Can you wait till we pass the papers back and then I'll let you go to the bathroom? Take one, pass it back. Oh, quick, well, everybody has one. Let me explain one quick thing before I let you free little baby birds, okay? No one got one with a hole in it, did they? No one got a paper with a hole in it? Oh man, I lost my whole paper. Oh no, I found it. Okay. The reason I have a hole in this paper is because if you look at the picture of what we're going over, let me see if I can pull it up right now while I'm doing about it. Oh, actually, no, it's not. I'll pull it up in 1 second. Okay. The plane at the top of the paper, that picture, that rectangle is a plane. Going through it, look at the directions. It says, note that RN pierces the plane at point N. Pierces it means that it's a line that goes through the plane. So the plane is this like piece of paper right here, and RN is going through it. If my Apple Pencil cap is R, and then the point that it touches is N, is R on my plane? That's my paper. No, it's above it, right? R is not on the same plane that is my paper. It kind of looks like it on your paper. So what I would maybe do is as I'm looking at my plane, I would maybe draw it. It looks like that, right? I would put R up off of the plane. It kind of looks like R's here on the plane, but it's not necessarily. So get it all the way off the plane so it doesn't look like it's one of your points on the plane. I know that's going to be a tiny bit confusing, but I wanted to clarify that. And I want you to kind of sit with the uncomfortable as you work through it. And once I check everyone's vocab, then we'll start going over answers, okay? Okay, this is when it's time to talk to each other. Turn, move your desk, talk to each other by yourself, use your notes. I don't mind. Ready, go.
Wait. Thank you. Thanks. So,
That's four of them. No, so I just wanted to, however you want to do it, you can like talk about 1, 2, 3, or you can have like this on one side and the other side. But I need you to know those statements. It's not gonna affect you, you're still your time, but I need you to know this from there. I didn't email you back. It looks like you do have your page list. That was the only thing I was gonna say. Make sure you got like you look like I like your 10 minutes so far. As long as you don't have arrows, lose your arrows in the name. I'm asking. Two lines across on the So I'm just going to imagine you can show they are the supports that in your no error. Just say I want from A to N. As long as you don't have a line, you just have to say it's all back.
Oh, they do. You sure? Arrows like first this one.
I just like all 4 different segments. No, that's okay. Okay. But what is the sales powers? Okay. Okay. I will go as I'm figuring out canvas. I maybe just need to make sure this doesn't have a save. And then that way you know that it's saved. I just always make sure that it's there so that you can see that you have it to do. No.
What are the A next?
You get intersection maybe. Unless it's hiding somewhere else, I don't counted 12, and I don't see intersection, and I don't know what else is missing. But just if you think you got 14, then you should know what those are. I don't know. I can't exactly remember. Just as long as you think that you got them, that's all that matters to me. Tyler, one thing for you. I also want you to write your questions. So that's not going to change your homework grade, but I want you to do that because I need you to know those 4 things. Does that make sense?
I didn't get it.
That's okay. Good. So I'm going to tell you that too. That's what I need you to know for the quiz. That's why we're doing vocab. So then I assume you have 10 here. Okay, then I'm not going to. Yeah. What's that? Sure. As long as you just put a line with no arrows on top, that counts as a segment.
Thank you.
Yeah. I see some hands. I'm going to come around in a second. We're going to go over it on the board, so you just keep moving so you can have more questions. You didn't have to do inductive reason. Okay. So if you have 15, that's probably good. You have all your questions in here. Perfect. You're good. What's that? You guys get caught up okay from the video? Yeah. Okay. But and we're not going to go over this side today and go to the other. Well, you did all that? Okay, then you keep rolling because we're probably not going to cover that until tomorrow. But you just keep practicing. Okay.
Like sticking out.
Remember those four, and actually, so these four right here,
No, it's like
just make hearts for those.
everything else
You still
is
need
flat,
to
and then it's like breaking it up. Also, like they would be flat. Yeah, we did like R will do those things. And it ends on the. I see.
So I like anytime you just throw two points in that second half, that counts as this one, X and everything I want. This is all.
What is the deal?
Remember where there's one at your nose. So I is minus right here. More sentences. I would have to make it part of it. Then we say those. Not the same.
The same.
Can we do it on the class? Are we at a stopping point or can we find a stopping point? Okay, good. Find a stopping point. We're just gonna go over the text part, the part with the words, the not the handwritten part, the one that's typed up. We're gonna do about 7 or so minutes of that. Connor, can I see your vocab? Okay, can you get it out for me? Thank you. Let me take this off your screen for 1 second. Okay, I'm pulling up my sheet. Start thinking about what questions we have. You have all your postulates. Okay, I really want all 4 of them. So I want you to have 4 more that have that word, that sentence exactly. Then you can do that. Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. My Notability got deleted yesterday, and so now I'm just like all bent out of shape. So I don't have anything that I thought I should have. Anyway, okay. So we're looking at this picture. We're gonna do as many of these as we can, try and answer some common questions. You only need this paper out. You can put everything else away. Okay, so I'm starting here. It says name 2 segments shown in the figure. I know there's a bunch of lines, but anytime you have 2 points, you can make a segment. Who's got a segment for me? Yep, Tyler, give me one. A-M or A-N? Yep, A-N. Good. As long as I put a segment hat with no arrows on it, that's a segment. Who's got another one? Yep, Evan.
AX.
AX. Very good. I could keep going. There's a bunch of different ones. Anyone have one that they want to make sure is right, or do you feel good about your answers?
AX would CM be one?
CM works. See how you we skipped over N and we just went from C to M. That's okay as long as you have the 2 endpoints and just a segment on top. Okay, now the intersection of CM and RN. What should the intersection of 2 lines be? In terms of where they intersect, which is going to be what? A point. Got a point. You guys were all saying the right things. I wanted like a symbol, a point. What point does CM and RN touch at? And good. Remember, when I just write a point, you just need that capital letter. You don't need a dot. You don't need a hat of any kind, just that capital letter. Okay, next, 3 collinear points. Time out. What's collinear mean? On the same line. So give me 3 points on the same line. I heard C, N, and M. Did I hear those? Yeah. And then I heard A, N, X. You got to give me those sets. So if you intermix them, it's not necessarily correct. C, N, and M are all on the same line. A, N, and X are all on the same line. M, N, and X are not on the same line. Are you on number 4? Are you trying to name the plane?
No.
Okay. Then these have to be it. You can have AXN or XAN, but I need those 3 to be together. When we're writing a set of points, give me commas between them so I know it's a point, not a plane, okay? Let's look at the next one. It says, what are 2 other ways to name plane V? A and C. Oh, I like that. Don't put any commas there because it's a plane. A and C all goes together. That's great. Who's got another one? Luca. ACX. I like that. Anyone have another one they want to check in with? What letters can I not use? I can't use R. And then I also can't use V. Do you remember that V is just the name of the plane since there's no point there? Okay, you guys are doing great. I don't remember if we talked about this yesterday. Again, you guys are my 4th time I teach geometry, so sometimes I forget to say things. You guys did an awesome job with these 3. Does anyone know what's special about these sets of points? A and C are all something, and A, C, X are all something. Gracie, think you know? Oh, no, sorry. I didn't want to, sorry. They are all, there's a vocab word that defines these points, A, N, and C. Those points are, you're like, we don't know. Non-collinear. You remember learning that word? In order to name a plane, I need 3 non-collinear points. We'll kind of touch on this a little bit more tomorrow. If you give me 3 points that are all in a row, that defines an infinite number of planes. And the best way I can show you is on the board. If I have like a line right here and I have A, X, C, or N, sorry, those are the ones that are on the paper. They define the plane that's the board. They're all on the board. But if I have another straight plane, it could come out from the board like this. Do you see how all 3 of those points are on this piece of paper? It's also, if I had it at an angle, it's that piece of paper. It's this one right here. That doesn't make one special plane. It makes an infinite amount of planes. So when you name a plane, I need 3 non-collinear points. Okay, for sake of time, let's do 2 more, and then we'll do the rest tomorrow, okay? This is kind of a new vocab word that I would probably add to my vocab sheet, but I bet you know what this word means just by context clues. The word coplanar. Can anyone guess what coplanar means? On the same plane. Very good. Collinear means on the same line, so coplanar means on the same plane. And I may go home and make a vocab card for that tonight, just so I remember that. Are R, N, M, and X all 4 points on the same plane? No. Why? R is not. R is above the plane, right? The plane's down here and R is up here somewhere. And you don't have to write that. You can just write no. But if I want to explain it and know when I go back to study later, I'm going to say R is not on the plane. Okay, this last one's going to be a little trippy, okay? It says, are R, C, and M coplanar? R, C, and M coplanar. They are not on the plane that's drawn, but they are coplanar. Hey, you did say yes. Can you explain anything about that? Or were you just like, I know it's yes?
It's like how you said that we can't define the planes by one line. It's like, because those are all on the same line. Or one, two, not just the others.
They're kind of like if I have these 2 points here and then R is on this plane, they can exist on the same plane. One of our postulates says through 3 non-collinear points, there exists one plane. If I give you 3 non-collinear points, even if a plane is not drawn, there can be a plane between them. So that's where it's going to get a little trippy and a little bit funny, and we're going to kind of work those kinks out tomorrow. But if I list any 3 points, they are on the same plane. The minute you get a 4th point involved, that's when things get funny, okay? So 3 points are always coplanar. 4 points, you just got to see, are they physically all on the same plane? Okay. I know that was kind of a lot, and I'm sure some of you guys worked through more of this. We're going to practice more of this tomorrow, and I have another review sheet. I'm just kind of throwing up as much practice as possible. We got about 8 minutes, so I want you to get your homework out that's due tomorrow, so we can start that, see if we can answer some questions on that. Who's calling my door?